As you see now, we are going to have the steps of analyzing poetry, how to analyze a poem in 6 steps. The first step that we have to know is to start with is to read. I have the students read the poem once to themselves and then aloud, all the way through at least twice. So you have to read the poem at least twice. And you have to feel free to play a recording of the poem. There are certain sites, for example, Poetry Foundation. There is recording of some poems. You can play the recording and hear to the sounds of the poem. So feel free to play a recording of the poem or show a video of someone reading a poem. Afterward, talk to your class about their first impression and immediate responses. The second thing that you have to start with, what is the impression of the poem that I have after reading the poem? Sometimes the impression could be positive and sometimes is negative. Here you have to discuss why do you have this positive impression or negative impression. Also, you have to know the poem structure. The structure, the way in which the poem is patterned. In other words, how many stanzas we have. And after that, you can discuss the rhythm. For example, are the lines short and meant to be read slow, or does the poem move fast? And if so, why? Sometimes you will feel that there are certain lines very short, and sometimes you feel that there are lines that are long. So when you have certain short lines, you have to read them slowly, okay? Sometimes you must try to understand why did the poet put his lines in this way. Now, after you have read the poem 2 times at least, think about the title. Is the title related to the poem or not? Titles usually give us information about the theme or the topic that the poet is speaking about. So they are, most of the time, they provide us with important clues about what is at the heart of the poem. Likewise, a title may work ironically, sometimes the opposite, okay? Or in opposition to a poem. In this case, you will ask yourself why. For example, in one of Thomas Hardy's poem, the title was The Man He Killed. When we read the poem, we know that the speaker is the one who killed. The idea that he put the pronoun he in the title of the poem is important. So when you have a title that gives you information different from the heart of the poem, you have to ask why. Another title, it's called A Strange Meeting. Okay, we think that this is something, okay, related to meeting in common day life, but it's strange. Later on, when we read the poem, we'll find that the meeting is after death in hell. So the title is very important because it, as I told you earlier, provide important clues about the poem. And sometimes it summarizes the main topic, sometimes gives us ironic or something against or the opposite of what is mentioned. Now, here to understand the title very well, you have to consider the following questions. Does the title immediately change how you think about it? Does the poem's title paint a picture, gives a visual imagery in your mind? that gives a specific time, frame, setting, or action? Does it imply multiple possibilities? So whenever you have a title of the poem, you have to ask yourself these questions. Most poets choose the title carefully, and they aim to paint a picture, to give a specific information to the readers. The third step is the speaker. You have to ask yourself, who is the speaker, the persona? This is very important because understanding the speaker is at the center of a poem may help the piece appear more understandable to the students, because they are able to imagine a person behind the language. And here, if you don't know the persona or the speaker, ask these questions. These questions will help you understand the speaker. Does the poem give any clues about the speaker personality, the point of view, age, or gender? For example, in the poem She Dwelt Among the Untrodden Ways, does the poem give us any clues about the speaker personality, point of view, age, or gender? We know from from reading the whole poem that this person is a friend to Lucy, who died so young. And we know information about her age, that she is young, and that the speaker is older than her. And although he is speaking about many years after her death, still he remembered her. His gender, we know that the speaker is male, for example, or female. In the example we covered earlier, She Dwelt Among the Untrodden Ways, the speaker was a man. Another question, who is the speaker addressing? Is he speaking with someone else, or is he speaking a general emotional state? He's describing his state. If he is speaking to someone else, you have to understand the other person. If he is generalizing certain emotional status, also this is important, because this reflects the emotional aspect, and we can know the mood of the poet. Does the speaker seem attached or detached from what he said? When you read the poem, do you feel that the speaker is in the middle of the things that he is speaking about, in the middle of action? This will be attached. He is attached to this thing. But if he is speaking in impersonalized style, and he speaks in a detached way, so this tells us that the topic that he is speaking about is not, he is not concerned with, so he is detached. And here we have to dig deep down to know why this poet is detached. Okay, so this is about the speaker of the poem. Okay, step 4, mood and tone. After talking about the speaker, we have discussing the speaker. It's important to address the attitude or mood the poem is attempting to convey. You have to ask yourself, what is the mood the poem is trying or attempting to convey? Some can be brooding or grieving, sad. Others may be happy and they have a song-like rhyme. So you have to give us the mood. Is the speaker happy? Is he sad? Is the tone cheerful, like a song, for example? After that, we have to discuss the attitude of each speaker, or in the poem, mentioned in the poem, if we have more than one speaker, or to speak, to reach the mood, general mood of the poem. Moreover, we have to talk if there are places where the poem tone may switch and why. Sometimes if I didn't clearly find that tone, I will search for places. For example, the place itself tell you the mood of the person. And she dwelt among them untrodden ways. The place we have at the beginning, untrodden ways, detached places, faraway places, half hidden from the eye. Then at the last stanza, he mentioned grave, and the grave is a very strong word and expresses that the mood of the gives us a conclusion and helps us to reach the mood, which is sadness. How do I know? From the word grave? The places mentioned in the poem that the writer is attached to tells us this. This is also a good time. Also, if there is a time, you have to search for time. If there, sometimes we don't have times, but mostly you can search for place or time to speak about, to find out the poet's mood. After understanding the speaker and the mood and the tone, you have to start with paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is to restate the main things mentioned in the poem, but in your own words, using your own style. So instead of having the poem put in rhyme scheme, they are rhymed. This is now not needed in the paraphrase. You have to tell me what is the meaning of the poem. What do you understand from these lines in your own word? Of course, there is no better time to apply what you have learned line by line. Paraphrasing may seem pretty self-explanatory. However, keep in mind this is not about skipping lines or condensing. Instead, you should lead line by line, try to understand this line by line. And if there are figures of speech, like similes, metaphor, try to understand them, explain them in your own words. Sometimes if there are unclear words, you can skip them, or you can choose simpler words that express the same meaning. And in other words, it's not necessary to explain word by word, line by line. You explain the major themes, the major thing that the poet speaks about, and focus on the tone that the poem had. Step 6, theme. Theme is the major idea. After analyzing the figures of speech, finding out the mood of the poem, after paraphrasing, try to understand the words and the expressions. Last but not least, it's time to get to the core of what the poem is about by identifying its theme. The theme of the poem relates to a universal truth, issue, or conflict. To determine the theme, overlook your analysis and connect the dots. Here we have 5 questions. If you answer these questions, you can easily find out the theme. The first question, what is the subject? Write it in a piece of paper. Who is the speaker? Also write it. What situation are they in? I mean, the speaker and the subject. What is the situation? How do you feel about the subject? This is your reaction. What's your reaction? And what is the mood? Answering these questions, you can write your paraphrase, and here we have the whole answer is complete. The theme is presented, the structure is presented, and we can say that you analyze the poem in a good way.